Hi, my name is Christina Chin, and this is my short PowerPoint presentation involving the Opium War. So first off, I actually wanted to say that there's two Opium Wars. The first Opium War was from 1839 and it lasted until 1842. The second Opium War began in 1856 and it went until 1860. Also during this time, opium was a large addiction that people in China had held, and so they got their opium transported mainly from Britain. So the first Opium War, as I had said before, occurred between 1839 and lasted until 1842. It involved China and Britain, and there was a seizure of mass quantities of opium in Canton, which was actually the only part of the country where Europeans were allowed to trade at. And pretty much what had happened was the Chinese government had decided to be more strict on smuggling opium over. So in 1840, Britain decides to send over a fleet and they attack the coast of China. And in the end, the Chinese actually lost because they didn't have as high technology in military defenses as the British did. And after a few defeats, the Chinese finally decided to sign a peace term. The peace term included that China had to pay a large indemnity to Britain. They had to open up more ports because they only had one port for foreign trade. And China also had to give Britain a 99-year lease on Hong Kong and allow British citizens to have special rights in China. So that was the first Opium War. Moving on to the second Opium War, it occurred in 1856 and went until 1860, except this time it was China against Britain and France, and there was a peace agreement in 1858, and this deal was eventually broken off by China, and that led to another attack in 1860. So with this second war, what had happened was that there were Chinese searching a Chinese-owned ship, but it was a British registered ship, and they ended up lowering the British flag. And in response, British sent another fleet, and this time they were accompanied by the French. And actually, once again, the Chinese still didn't have good military technology, and they were once again defeated. And actually, when China broke off their deal after the peace agreement in 1858, it led to the even larger scale of attack by the Anglo-French, and that occurred in Beijing. And by the end, in around October, the Chinese had accepted defeat and allowed for the British and French to have foreign powers and allowed them to keep their diplomats in Beijing, as well as having the opium trade being legalized. And that was the end of the Second Opium War. So the results were pretty much the Treaty of Nanjing, the large indemnity payment to Britain, the increase in ports for trade, as they previously only had one port as opposed to the 5 they gained, and then there's legalized importation of opium and residency in Beijing for foreign convoys. Thank you very much.